This way of life, our way of being, is a reflection of our location here in Washington, our international character, our Catholic and Jesuit identity, and our roles and responsibilities as a university, whether through the formation of our students, through the inquiry of our faculty, and in the responsibility that we have as a community to promoting the common good. It is the ethos, the characteristic spirit of our university to seek the betterment of humankind. And this spirit is at the core of the Center for Social Justice, which brings together the resources of our tradition with the ambition of our community to discern and model what it means to be a university engaged in service to our local and to our global communities.
Today is a space for both to attend to and love one another. We should walk away from today's celebrations and reflections inspired by our alumni and one another, supported by our stories, and ready to face injustice head on as we are challenged to strive for the common good. We have much more to do.
My junior year. But as a student coordinator, I did a lot of intake for the project, right? So I would go to these homes of refugee families and meet with them, explain the program, and take down information on the children, and then help match up students with the children in the program. And that was truly eye-opening.
It's just something about treating people with dignity that should raise your own dignity. And I don't often see it.
I was really lucky to have like a community of professors my whole life, but I think someone who really affected me at Georgetown was really Ray Hsu, had a huge impact on me in that coming to social justice and really thinking about what values you want to bring to the table. And I think that's something that still I carry with me today.
I'm exaggerating a little bit. So I think sometimes we exaggerate how good we are because we follow the Jesuit tradition, or we're the Catholic university, or because we've done a good gesture. The good gesture is not when you're spending somebody else's money. The good gesture is when you're spending your money, so to speak.
As well as a community. And for me in college was a lot of really my first exposure to collective action. So my family talked about justice. We did service as a family, but collective action is a different thing and an important piece of this. So, friends and I worked with different local universities to protest the Persian Gulf War. We worked with some of the janitors at the time who were facing a shift change, and it left some of the women taking the bus in the middle of the night. So for me, part of that experience was seeing the importance of bringing voices together to affect change.
And when I was here, starting in 1986, 87, that was the time of the Iran-Contra affair. The U.S. was supporting dirty wars throughout Central America. It was a turbulent time in terms of human rights policy and some of the abuses that the United States government was perpetuating, particularly in Central America. And at the same time, I started volunteering through the DC Schools Project and meeting Salvadoran refugee families, who were living in very different experiences in Columbia Heights that did not look at all like it does now 30 years ago and didn't feel like it does now. And going into those homes, meeting those kids, meeting those families really changed what I wanted to do with my life. And I came out.
And I am very happy to see what Georgetown is doing to address things as I think daily about the legacy of slavery, and it just makes me feel so much more connected to Georgetown, especially because there weren't conversations like that when I was an undergraduate, and that was only 3 years ago.
A year would be able. Georgetown's been working in Ward 8 for how long? For years. How many students have we been able to get here? Probably not very many, because it's a difficult process of coming to this elite university. So as you said, there has to be something that starts in the community before.
And in some ways that I think has left me with a real appreciation of, I guess, humility in terms of this work, that we can do so much more if we're willing to work on it together, but when we're working by ourselves, it's much more difficult. And I think...
And I came out of here recognizing that necessarily know if I can represent my government abroad, but I can hold my government to account. And I can really try to put pressure on my government to be the government I want it to be and to represent me and my values in the world. So my time here, and particularly my work with the DC Schools Project over the years, really, I think, did shape my view of the world and how I wanted to engage it.
Great, terrific.
You know, the gap I see is how do we get people who have suffered all these injustices at a level where they're going to be accepted, even with preferential admission, because preferential admission isn't necessarily a big enough advantage. And then also with scholarships, you know, a lot of people, that's not enough if they're the ones who need to stay home and support their families. It might get them to Georgia.
Courage, I would
Compassion.
say. I think courage is a piece of it. And I'm not sure how well we do on that. I think modeling is, I guess, the best way that we can capture that. But I think courage is a really important piece of staying committed to social justice issues, and no matter what form or issue that you're working on.
Absolutely.
But there are other ways. You know, once, and I often told this joke, or once I said to the Dean of Admissions, why don't you have more African Americans from DC at this place? And the answer was, well, they want to leave town. And my answer was, coming to Georgetown is leaving town. It's another world. I hadn't been here. You think I live in, look at me, no, this is nowhere near. So, in essence, the responsibility becomes also to Washington, D.C. And that's why, you know, the administration here and others have put a lot of effort into trying to better the lives of people in D.C. And so that comes through Center for Social Justice. So it's much more compound, and we all must participate in trying to add to this discussion.
It might get them to Georgetown, but a lot of people can't leave their families at home unsupported. So I would wonder about what we can do for people, for the descendants at a younger age, as far as the resources in education starting at the beginning. And I think that will definitely require money, especially because of the distance from Georgetown. But I think that is what we need to even get people to a point where they're getting accepted into Georgetown.
It's much harder to sustain hope. So for me, I left more with a sense of community, the importance of collective action, as well in some ways as my goals shifted, and this sounds strange, but my goals actually became a little bit less defined. They became more committed, as I said before, to a way of life of wanting to live fully and deeply and engaging and serving my community and being open to how that materialized.